It's a nice sunny day in Berlin, and I feel like it's the perfect time to do a random interview with a random person. But before we get into the interview, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you who are watching this video right now. You are awesome. You're good. You're good, bad. Thank you for all the support. Really appreciate you sticking with me on this Stick With It journey. So, today I have for you, Nikki, we're recording.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I am doing well.
Okay, I see.
I had a good morning.
Had a good morning.
Yeah.
How do you usually start your morning?
In quiet. I think I wake up very quickly generally, but I prefer to kind of have a quiet start to the morning. I get up, I make my bed, I go to the bathroom, I make coffee. That's pretty much my routine. And then I like to have a very short period of time actually between the time that I wake and the time I start working, because I'm very productive in the morning, early morning.
Yeah.
You know, some people like to have this long drawn out morning routine.
Yeah.
I find that wastes my mental energy, and I would rather have a long drawn out evening than a drawn out morning.
Okay, cool. You said you spread your bed. Is that super important to do every morning?
Yeah. It's a habit that I've generated, and I realized that for me it's a mental indication that like sleep time is done.
Oh, okay.
The bed is made and you can't just climb back into it. Like the day has started. Because otherwise, you know, if it's not been a great night of sleep and I'm still, you know, I have a bit of extra time, then I'll like crawl back into bed. Sometimes, I know it's weird, but even like I'll take a shower and then I'll be like, oh, but I miss my bed. I'll climb back into my bed, like in my robe, and I find if I've made my bed, then that's not an option.
Yeah, I can't afford to mess up that bed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it's done.
Okay, do you remember what you wanted to do with your life at 5 years old?
At 5 years old, I wanted to be a vet.
A vet?
I wanted to be a vet.
Oh, cool.
And probably at 7, I wanted to be a judge. And by about 12, 13, I wanted to be a forensic scientist. I wanted to work with crime and work with, I guess with the dead, which is really weird. I know.
Yeah, right? From a vet to a judge to a forensic scientist somewhat. That's super interesting. So by 15, what did you land on?
I actually fully intended on being a trauma surgeon through until I actually started university. Unfortunately, my maths marks were not, like maths was not my thing. My schooling was very disrupted in many ways. Yeah. My parents were very devoted to my education, but we moved a lot. So I experienced multiple different school systems, and I think I missed something along the way. And so I went from being very good at mathematics as a young girl to really struggling with mathematics, you know, through high school in particular. And that then always was a hindrance to me in trying to become a doctor. Okay. Where my biology marks were always my highest marks and my maths marks were always my lowest marks. And
So what did you study at university?
I double majored, which was normal at my university. Yeah. I double majored in journalism and linguistics. And I then did 2 advanced degrees thereafter, and one of them at the same university in applied linguistics. Okay.
Yeah. And what was I know you just finished another degree, what was that?
I did. I've also done an advanced degree just recently in business administration, so I have an MBA.
Okay. Oh, cool. Do you like to read?
I do love to read.
Okay.
I find though that, particularly the work that I do now, I spend so much time reading every day that I read very little in my free time now, but I do very much enjoy it.
All right. And what do you do for a living now?
So I currently, it's a difficult question to answer. Let me think about the level to answer that. So I am a localization we're going to start that one again. I work in localization. I'm a localization operations and excellence lead for a online marketplace that sells experiences.
Okay.
And how I think about my work is that I make it possible for people from all around the world to read about our offering.
Yeah.
And what we sell at the end of the day is memories. And so I work with languages. For those who don't know what localization is, I work with languages. It means that my team makes content sound like it was written in another language. So we'll take it from English and make it sound German, and not just translate it, but really make it sound German. Or we'll take it from German and we'll make it sound Korean, or we'll make it sound Japanese, or we'll make it sound like it was written in France.
That's interesting. How difficult is it to make it like culturally appropriate?
It is really difficult
Okay.
to make something sound culturally appropriate, because you really need to understand the nuance of a culture.
Yeah.
You need to understand what are the norms in that place. And it really means working a lot with native speakers. So people who come from that place don't just speak that language.
Yeah.
Because then they're able to advise like, okay, this idiom won't translate. We
Yeah.
need to use that one instead. Or this example, nobody's going to understand who that person is or
Yeah.
why that's important. We need to adapt it culturally. And then also, you know, you find different measurement formats, different temperature formats, different time formats even. You know, it's amazing how these little things can make it feel natural, unnatural. Are you using a 12-hour clock or a 24-hour clock? It's really small little nuances that make all the difference.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, what are your hobbies?
I like to hike. It's probably my biggest hobby. I like to spend time with friends, and I particularly enjoy doing that over a bottle of wine or a nice meal at a restaurant. I do read a fair bit when I have time, and I like to travel. So planning those trips, I think, counts as a hobby because I spend so much time doing it.
How many countries have you visited in your entire life?
Oh, we're approaching 40, I would say.
40. Wow.
Well, actually, no, I think we're approaching 35.
35, okay.
35.
Yeah, that's still quite a big number.
Quite a few. I've also been to many US states. I think I've been to 38 US states.
38, oh my goodness.
I've been to 4 Canadian provinces, and I've lived in 7 of the 9 provinces in my home country.
7 of the 9. Yes, you're the one who have moved the most, the person that I know. How many times have you moved houses?
Oh, I have moved about 30 times.
Wow.
There was a point, I think we're at like 27, 28, where I'd moved the same number of years that I'd been alive. But I've now been a bit more static. In the last maybe 10 years, I think I've only moved 3 times.
Oh, that's funny.
But I had a very nomadic childhood, which had its pros and cons.
Yeah.
For sure.
So where's the place that you've lived the longest?
Here.
In Germany.
So I've actually lived in Berlin the longest of any city,
Okay.
or any town I've lived in before. Yeah. And I've lived in this apartment the longest I've ever lived in any place before.
Wow.
Which is coming on 4 years.
4 years, okay. Beautiful. All right. Are you working on any projects now that you're super excited about?
I am. So I am intending on doing a sabbatical next year, Q4 of next year and Q1 of the year after. And I want to use that time to go hiking in New Zealand. I want to do a long distance through hike from the northernmost point of the country to the southernmost point of the country. It takes about 5 months to do.
Wow.
And preparing for that is a big project. You know, making sure that I feel comfortable with the gear I'm going to be taking, preparing my body and my mind for that kind of a trip, preparing my finances for being away for 6 months. And I'm trying to build up a number of streams of income that I can use during that time, such that I will have some subsidization from my company. I'll take a pay cut for a while, but I'll be able to kind of really live off fruits of labor at that time, rather than worrying about, you know, quickly getting back and starting a new job because funds are running low.
That sounds exciting. We should actually do another interview after you've done that.
Sure.
Just to talk about that journey.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, 10 rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Don't think too long about them, just answer them. The first answer that comes to your mind. All right. Who was your first crush?
It was a little boy named Stephen, who was in my class in grade 1. And yeah, really gorgeous little guy with really dark hair and bright blue eyes. And yeah, he was fun to play with and my first crush.
And he was your crush, okay. How many slices of pizza can you eat in one go?
I can eat the entire pie in one go if I'm hungry enough. But generally 3 is kind of where I'll start wondering if, you know, enough's enough.
Okay. What was the last gift that you gave to someone?
Gift that I gave to someone? I mean, I'm thinking of something, sorry, I am thinking about this a little bit longer because I'm thinking about something that actually was meaningful rather than like a bottle of wine or a card or something. The last gift I gave to someone was to my grandmother. And I gifted her kind of a meal with her grandchildren all together, and that was something that she really needed.
Cool. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Well, yes, you have the glass of coffee right here.
Coffee.
What was your favorite vacation?
So my favorite vacation was actually a hike that I did. I took 40 days off and I did a long hike through Spain. I walked from France to the coast on the far end of the peninsula on my own. And it was the first time I'd ever done significant solo travel, and it was a life-changing time. Not the most like restful holiday I've ever had, but emotionally, spiritually, mentally, the most restorative time that I've ever had.
Wow, yes, that does sound amazing. What's your favorite book?
My favorite business book is a book called The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, and I would recommend it to anybody. My favorite non-fiction book is probably a book that I read as a teenager by Tamara Pierce. It's called Page. And my favorite book of all time, I think, is probably Nelson Mandela's autobiography.
Okay, nice. If you could have a conversation with any person in history, who would it be?
Marie Antoinette.
Marie Antoinette, I don't know. Who's that?
So Marie Antoinette was the last queen of France before the revolution. And I think she's a horrifically misunderstood character in history, who tried to escape the responsibilities that were imposed upon her because she never wanted them.
Yeah.
And I would love to be able to speak to her a bit about, yes, the luxury of her life, but what were her emotional coping mechanisms, not necessarily the outward show of, you know, how she coped with that pressure.
Okay, yeah, that does sound interesting. What's one of your biggest fears?
Everybody I love dying. Yeah.
Okay. And what makes you angry?
Being misunderstood or neglected, I think. That tends to make me angry.
Okay. And the final question, what's your favorite animal?
Oh, probably a dog.
Okay.
Like, I think when I'm being myself, I have big dog energy, so probably a dog. But otherwise, an octopus.
An octopus, really?
I think they're clever, they are colourful, they manage to squeeze themselves into really teeny tiny spaces.
Yeah.
But they're also fascinating, and there's just so much we can learn from them.
Okay. Do you plan to do anything with your love for animals, given that you wanted to be a vet at one point? Not really, no. I think I would love to have a pet of my own. I feel that it would be irresponsible of me to have a pet in this flat because I do work from home some days, but I'm in the office a lot, and I'm a very social person. Having an animal cooped up in this small space just isn't fair. But I would love to have, you know, a little pack
of my own, if they had, you know, free reign of garden, a couple of cats, maybe a goat.
Yeah.
And I think my far off future would probably involve some kind of a farm. But that's probably a retirement dream. So maybe then, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so the next time you find someone who wants to be a linguist, maybe, but you know they've struggled with trying to figure out what exactly they want to do with their lives.
Yeah.
But they've landed, okay, this linguistic thing seems interesting. What would you tell them? How would you encourage them?
So I would encourage them by saying to them that your journey, your journey is not going to be linear. It is going to take you in different directions that you're not expecting, and you're going to have setbacks, and that is absolutely normal, and that's actually something to celebrate, because the skills you will learn through that will be so much more valuable than what you've studied, and so much more valuable than even some of the experiences you'll have in your early career at work. So stick with it. What's your favorite color? Mine's purple. While you're thinking about it, why don't you hit like and subscribe?